Welcome to Joey's Social Club. I'm Joey Seifert. And today's guest, I have Jim Spicer. Jim, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Joey?
Good, man. Thanks for coming on the show. It's been
Yeah,
I've talked to
appreciate
you for so long, and we're
you. Yeah,
finally getting to
right.
talk face to face.
That's true.
Yeah. How's everything down in you're down in Florida, right?
Yep. It's sunny today. Well, it's cloudy today. We're getting rain tomorrow,
Yeah.
but otherwise, what now the good weather starts coming in now.
And you're on the west side or the east side?
West side, West Coast.
You're on the good
in
side.
Tampa Bay area.
Yeah, so my brother's down in Tampa.
Yeah, I love
That's
it.
like-
We gotta get there one day.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm gonna definitely come down. We always come down once a year, and that is Clearwater Beach, man. That's my spot. I love the
Oh,
beaches.
yeah.
And
Yeah. Clearwater Beach. We're out of Palm Harbor. It's
Okay.
right before Tarpon Springs.
yeah, it's a little bit north,
It's a little
north
bit
of Tampa, in
it's
Clearwater.
south of- yeah, it's really west of Tampa. Yeah, west of Tampa.
Yeah. Now Terrapin, that's where they do. Isn't that where the sponge
dive.
things are?
Yeah. I did that
Yeah.
one time. I did it for a few times actually. Sponge dive.
Is it pretty cool or no?
Yeah, I loved it. I love diving.
You do love diving. See, my brother's a diver too.
Oh, I love it. Haven't did it in a while though, but
He's like, yeah, I'm gonna take you diving. I'm like, cool. I post all these
Oh.
videos all the time of people swimming with sharks.
yeah.
I'm like, I just
Oh,
want like a
yeah.
shark to go by so I can just like rub its belly as it goes.
I seen some shark that's pretty nasty. I don't think I'd ever mess with that. I would never swim with. You posted something on Facebook with that big great white.
Yeah, exactly. The thing was huge.
There's no way I'd come close to that there.
I know that's what everybody else said. Everybody's like, nah, you're nuts. No thanks.
Yeah, I mean that's big shark, man.
They look like so docile, just like
I
floating
know.
through. And I know they'll
They
shred
don't
you,
look
but
like that. I'd be scared to be around one of those because they
Yeah.
do it. Same with the target shark. Target sharks are really aggressive and nasty.
the tigers are worse, right?
Yeah, without a doubt.
I know that, like thinking back to my childhood, that's the movie that literally ruined
Oh,
like,
Jaws.
Jaws. Anything that I couldn't
Yeah.
see to the bottom of the water, it ruined it.
Actually, I got like that myself.
It
I
scared the
wouldn't
shit
go
out
in
of me.
the ocean for a while. Yeah, I mean, it was a few years later. Then I moved to Florida, and then I got into the diving, and I loved it. I mean, it's awesome. We usually do a trip down the Keys every year for a lobster. That's a blast.
Okay.
And I love Key West.
I would love to go just to do what do they do? The wrecks, to try to find treasure.
Yeah, I guess
That
it's
would be
getting
cool.
big again too. The guys go with metal detectors underwater and look for
Mhm.
stuff.
That would be super cool.
That'd be my retirement. I want to move there, but my wife don't want to move there.
Yeah, we need to find an old pirate ship full of gold, right?
Yeah. I just love it down there. I love the atmosphere. It's just so laid back and it's pretty
Yeah, the
cool.
Keys are pretty cool.
I love it.
I love
Really?
running those bridges, going down
Yeah,
there.
7 Mile Bridge.
Those bridges are cool.
Yeah, I saw a tiger shark eating a turtle over the 7 Mile Bridge one day.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it was pretty wild watching that. I wish I should have taken a video of it or something, but you
Yeah,
can't
right.
stop at the bridge, so there's no way of doing it.
Yeah,
That was like one of the coolest things I ever seen.
that is pretty cool. So we
Yeah.
originally started talking because of all of the outfit stuff that I was posting stuff here in Chicago. You said that you had some a pretty interesting life from New York
Yeah.
before you came down to Florida.
Yes. I was around gangsters all the time.
Walk me through some of that. What was your earliest time that you remember that you were around some of the mafia? They call out there it's mafia, right? Not outfit.
Yeah, right. So, I didn't know that. It's just difficult in Chicago.
Right. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, I didn't know that too. But
So were you around these guys because of your family?
well, my uncle had the plumbing contracts with them.
Okay.
And he did all the plumbing on the houses or service, whatever we had to do. I always was with his main guy and me. We don't always go there. The coolest guy I ever met was Jerry Papa.
And how old were you when you met him?
I think I was 16.
16.
Yeah. I didn't know how big he was back then. I knew he was big though, because
Yeah.
everybody would be coming up all day long and giving him a kiss, giving him an envelope, and that happened like all day long. And then his crew used to hang out there all the time too, and they were all pretty cool. They're all decent guys.
So seeing
And
this
then-
at 16 years old, where you're like, hey, this isn't too bad. People are handing envelopes to this guy all the
Yeah.
time. And
Oh you had to see when he pulled out. I used to have to run the store for him, get him all coffees and lunch or sodas, whatever it was. And Jerry had a thick bundle of money like that. He'd have to go through the thousands to get to the hundreds to get to the 20s. I mean, a lot of money.
And you're super impressionable at that age. You're looking at that like, that looks pretty good.
Yeah, and plus the guy looked like a badass guy too. I mean, he looked really tough. And that was a big thing back then.
And did your dad at that point, was he like, no, you don't want to be involved with these guys? Or
my dad never knew. I never told him.
Oh, really?
You know? Yeah, my uncle Frank, he's the one that had the connection that knows them all.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, at first when I started meeting them, I really didn't like them at first. A lot of them were stuck up. And I just didn't impress me. But then Jerry was totally different than a lot of them. I mean, Jerry was more he talked to you, he just was a nice guy. I didn't know he was a big time murderer and a hitman and all that. I was like, oh,
at
shit.
that point, did you continue to, as you got older, you continued working with and hanging around?
I had to come to Florida when I was 19. I got in some trouble. So my attorney just said it'd be best if, go to Florida for a couple of years, let things cool down. So I did that, and I was working plumbing, and I wasn't making any money down here. So then I got a job on the tugboats up in New York, and then I went back.
Okay.
And then I got married, and everything changed. Once you get married and you have kids, it's different.
So at that point, you had no contact with anybody in the mafia. After you got married and everything.
Yeah, and I still know some people. I don't want to get into who they are.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, they tell me some stories sometimes. They actually told me about John Popper, what he did, when he cut his penis off and stuck it in the guy's mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's a message.
Yeah, he said, it's a business for us. We don't do that shit. You don't cut the guy's penis off and stick it in his mouth. Just do your job, get out of there, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like,
and then from that, you had an interesting part of that. You told me, so you get out of New York and you head down after you're married and kids and stuff, and you move down to Florida permanent.
Yeah.
And then you have a situation. Can you go into that situation that you got into down there?
Yeah. Well,
because that's like a terrible story.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was. I mean, they tried making me a criminal is what they were trying to do. I mean, they put so much pressure on me. And it was right after Jimmy got killed, that was tough dealing with then. And more or less then you had the bad cops. And I didn't find out it was the state attorney till probably about 9 months after the accident. Then I found out what was going on. I mean, they would park across the street from my house. And it was probably about 3 weeks after Jimmy's accident. Well, about a week after the investigators came over, the maritime unit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you start with like from the accident, move forward?
Yeah. What happened was we heard he was helping a boat out, and we really never got the story what happened. But then 5 years ago, this kid told me, he said, "Yeah, I saw everything. You want to know what happened?"
And this was your son, right?
Yeah, my son got killed, right?
Yeah.
What happened was they were trying to pull the boat out. The boat went aground. They never moved the boat out. So the tide went out. So the boat got stuck aground.
Okay.
So the kid was so scared that his father was going to get mad at him that they worked on getting the boat out. I mean, so we weren't sure what happened, but we were out for dinner and all my friends' phones started going off, and all their kids are friends with my kids. And then I get a call saying, "Hey, we heard Jimmy got cut by a prop or something." So I was like, shit. So then all the phones started going. I was like, oh man, something's wrong. This ain't right. So I threw my credit card on the table and I said, "Hey, pay the bill for me. We got to go, So my wife's like, "Where are we going?" I said, "Well, we know what happened on the water. So we'll go to Dunedin Hospital. It's right down the water and we'll figure out from there,
Mm-hmm.
So she was in the hospital. So I called the Coast Guard up. I said, "You guys get any calls on like somebody get hurt by the prop or anything?" He said, no. So I hung up, and then 15 minutes, he calls me back. He said, "You need to go to Seminole Boat Ramp." I said, "Well, what happened to my son? Do you know?" He said, "I can't tell you anything." I said,
Yeah.
all right. So we went to Seminole Boat Ramp, and it was taped off. There was ambulances there. There was all kinds of cops, and we pull up, and two deputies walked up to me, and they were the Maritime Division. And they said, I'm sorry to tell you. I said, are you saying my son's dead? And they're like, we're sorry. And I kind of flipped out. And
Yeah.
yeah, but I didn't know there was so many people at the end of the dock. There was all kinds of U.S. state attorneys, assistant state attorneys.
And they were all out there like immediately when the accident happened.
Yeah, well, it was a little bit. Let me get a drink first.
Yeah. Because that seems weird that they were all out there right when it happened.
Well, they called, but there was a big concert going on.
Okay.
But they were at a beach, but you could hear the concert from the beach, an island. And listen, that kid's attorney got to the dock before my son's body got to the dock. His attorney was out there that quick.
Wow.
Yeah, but
That seems weird.
wasn't that wasn't the original attorney. That was an attorney they could get a hold of because he was close by, that he could get down there right away. So he was at like the YMCA, and he was like the first one at the scene. Then the cops got wind of it. There were paramedics on the island, and they put him on their boat to bring Jimmy to the dock. But he was dead. It was I kind of wrecked my truck that night, beating it up. Just got upset.
So they ruled that an accident?
Well, okay. So then the investigators come in to us. They called me up. They said they're coming over the house. So it's two maritime sheriffs, deputy sheriffs. And they look, we're going in with BUI manslaughter, because there was, we got the father, put 2 kegs of beer on the boat, witnesses, through the police reports and all that. So 2 kegs of beer on a boat. So they knew he was drinking and all that, but he refused the breath analyzer test.
Yeah.
I mean, on land, you lose your license for a year, but on the water, it's a $500 fine. That kid didn't even pay a $500 fine. So anyway, so the deputies came over like a week later and said, we're going in with BUI manslaughter. We got enough, with it. And the kid washed out like a big crater, like a 20-foot by 10-foot crater, just with the engine trying to get out.
Yeah.
And throw it in reverse.
And did you know who this other kid was?
No. Never even heard of him before. Jimmy just met him that day.
Oh, really?
He just came back from spring break, the kid. And
okay.
Jimmy was hanging out. Jimmy got along with everybody. Jimmy was just a lovable kid. Everybody loved Jimmy.
And what size was the boat that they were on?
Like a 26-foot Grady White. It was a pretty big boat.
Yeah, that's a big boat.
Yeah.
So they go in for manslaughter charges on this kid.
They went in with BUI manslaughter, boating under the influence.
Okay.
Manslaughter. So they went in for that. And then 3 weeks later, my wife calls me up and she wanted to go to Jimmy's grave. And I was like, nah, don't go yet. It's too early. I don't want to go, And I got home probably about 6 o'clock, and I bought a 12-pack of beer. So I walked in with the 12-pack of beer, and our mom and dad are sitting there, and my wife's sitting there, and I could see she went to the grave. I was like, man, you went to the grave, man. I said, I told you not to go.
Yeah.
So she was just looking at me mad, I said, man, my life sucks right now. So all of a sudden she's like, what, you want to kill yourself? I said, I didn't say that. So all of a sudden I see her on the phone, 911, my husband wants to kill himself. I was like, oh shit, Loretta.
Yeah.
I said, all right, I'll deal with it. So I called my buddy up. He's the sheriff in Hillsborough County.
Okay.
And I said, hey, Joe, you might want to come over here just in case, but everything should be all right. I'll explain to them what happened, what's going on, So I put the beer in the refrigerator. I grab one, I pop it open, and I'm still talking to Joey on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I turn around, there's 2 cops in my garage, and they put their hands on the holsters. I said, whoa, back off. I said,
yeah, relax, guys, relax. It's just a beer.
A beer, and I got my phone.
Yeah.
So they're like, can you step out here? I said, yeah, sure, So I go out, they grab the phone out of my hand and left me with the beer. So he said, could you step over here on the side of the house? And it's all grassy. I never put it together, but I should ask, why do I got to get over there for?
Yeah, because they're going to take you down.
That's what they did.
Yep.
I mean, I got hit so hard, I didn't even know what hit me. I was like, holy shit. Then my father and the paramedics were there too. My father saw everything, and he kind of was flipping out.
Yeah,
he's
why are
like,
they being rough on you? I mean, you didn't.
yeah,
It's not like you're.
they attacked you. He said they attacked him. You know, he called internal affairs. He's like,
Mhm.
that was bullshit. But I found out through my neighbor what happened was another deputy pulled up, and he came running in with his elbow, and that's how they put me down. That's what he said. I don't know what happened. I just got hit so
Super
hard.
aggressive.
Yeah. So I'm like, let it go, you know. So I get in the cop car and we're leaving. And it's like, you know, you guys don't understand. You know, I said, there's a lot of emotions flying through my house right now.
And
You
at
know,
this point, you're under arrest.
yeah, yeah,
What are
yeah.
you under arrest for?
And they never even said really, but they charged me with assault and battery
To who?
and, on the deputies.
To the beer can?
I didn't even touch them. They just said that. They just made that shit up.
Yeah, make something up.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'm in the cop car and I tell the cop, I said, you know, what's going on? And he's like, hey, I give a fuck about your faggot piece of shit, son. And you're nothing but a faggot piece of shit too, you motherfucker.
What
And I
the
was like,
fuck?
oh man. I said, I know what you guys are trying to do. And you kiss my ass saying that shit. I said, why don't you come over my house without your badge and your uniform? And we go in my backyard and say that to my face and see what happens. He said,
Why?
man,
Why are they doing? I mean, why are they being like this to
I
you?
didn't know. I didn't know for a while, really.
So at that point, you had no idea. You're just like, these guys are jagoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, whoa. And then, well, I knew something was up because then when they transported me to the shopping plaza, 3 deputies pulled up there, the sergeant and the 2 other deputies. But the 2 other deputies kept on coming by the back door on the other side, opening the door. You dead, fucking you dead, you faggot piece of shit, just like that. And I'm like,
Wow.
whoa, where's all this anger coming from?
Yeah.
You don't even know me. Like what? And then I was like, just go, take the handcuff, because they kept on doing it. Him and the other guy coming to the back door. Then they all like stood together, and I seen him looking in back at me. So I looked around, and my buddy Joey was walking up. He's a sheriff in Hillsborough.
Hillsborough,
So he
yeah.
went, yeah. So he went, showed him the badge and all that there, and then they stopped. And then I went to jail for the night. And they told my wife that because I got diabetes, they told my wife that there'd be a doctor by there with me. I got a nice bed in a room, and I was like, man, I finally they let me use the phone about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck did you leave me here for? Why didn't you come and get me out?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, they told us that you'd be in a nice room, the doctor be right there with you.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you're probably sleeping on a concrete block.
Yeah, solitary confinement. Then they moved the torture chair in front of me. I was like, no shit. I knew what it was, you know, because Joey. I'm like, wow, what the fuck, you know?
Okay, so you get released what the next day?
Yeah. I go before the judge, and I think my wife bailed me out, but I went across the broad judge and I got out. So I sat them down that night when I got out. I said, listen, we got problems. I said, I don't know what's going on yet.
Yeah.
I said, but there's no way these cops could act like that towards everybody.
No.
I said, something has to be tied into Jimmy's accident. I said, but I'm not sure. I said, but listen, they're coming after me. And when they find out they can't get nothing on me, they're going to come to you guys because you're the next guys that would hurt me.
Right.
So they got pulled over a bunch of times and they never told me. I said,
you guys are getting harassed.
Yeah. Oh,
and you still have no idea why.
No idea why. Then I get out the next morning, you know, I'm home, go to bed. I get out the next morning, I go get the paper, and there's a cop sitting across the street from me.
Now they're
So I'm
watching
looking
your
at him.
house.
Yeah. So I'm looking at him, and all of a sudden he drives by, and I live in a cul-de-sac, comes around the cul-de-sac, opens his window and said, hey, how's your day going? And I said, good. I'm like, wow, no shit. Then they started hanging out across the street. There was 2 spots, one to the left and one to the right. And I see him all the time.
I mean,
And
this has to be pissing you off at this point.
Nah, because I knew something was up. I just didn't know what was. I didn't know if the father had a couple of cops in his hand.
Yeah.
And was waiting for me, was afraid of me going after his kid, or, you know, that's actually what I kind of thought. You know, maybe the father had somebody, you know, knew had a cop in his pocket or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, I'd be working on, you know, my buddies were like, man, you got to go to work. You got to start working, you know, because they clear your mind, you know. So I started working, and then they would find me on my job, and they open the window and say, hey, how's your day going? I was like, yeah, good. Like, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
What the fuck?
Yeah,
These
but
guys are on your shit.
yeah, yeah. I busted a couple by guys following me, but and I take them up a dead end, and then I would get out of my truck, and they drive by, and I just smile at them, because they didn't know where they were going.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then did anything else happen? So many things happened. I mean, they didn't leave me alone for close to 5 years. Put it that way. I mean, it was
5 years they were harassing you.
Yeah, because
And in that 5 year period of time, are you like starting in your head, like, I got to look and see what's going on with this whole situation?
yeah,
Like, investigate a little bit more in your son's death.
Yeah, I tried figuring out, but then I wound up. What happened was the prosecutor sent us a letter saying that they weren't charging the kid. And I was like, oh, that's what it was about, like shit. I mean, I didn't know what happened. They would
Mhm.
never talk to us anymore.
Yeah.
When we return our calls. And so Fox News called me up, Doug Smith. He's an investigative reporter.
Yeah.
And he called me up and he said, listen, I want to do a story on your son, Jimmy, why these charges were not up when you got two deputies that went in there with DUI manslaughter, and then the prosecution don't want to prosecute it.
Yeah.
He said, I want to do a story on it. So it took him probably about 6 months to do the story. But in the meantime, I was still being harassed. Then we went out to dinner with my sister and my brother-in-law, and we're eating, and we get up and we'll leave. So I tell my wife, I said, hey, listen, I need to use the restroom. I'll meet you out front. So I go in the bathroom and I'm taking a leak, and this guy walks up to me and he goes, how's your life doing right now?
Shit.
I said, what? What are
Yeah.
you talking about? He goes, I'm asking you how your life is going right now. I said, well, my son was killed like 6 months ago, and there's this big corruption thing going on now, but otherwise I'm doing good. He goes, well, I'm here to tell you to back off on things and your life's going to be better. I said, what the fuck you say to me?
Back off on things.
Yeah, well, because I guess they knew Fox News was going to do a story on the state attorney's office.
Man,
They
this
know-
is like outfit all over it.
Yeah,
There's some serious corruption there.
yeah. I never, I should have realized it. My father moved down in '78, and I came down here. And he's like, you want to see the house I'm building in Westlake in Palm Harbor?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I'll take a ride with you. So we're driving down 19 and get to Palm Harbor, and there's this white house, and there's this cross, and they're burning the cross. And I look around, it's all KKK.
No shit.
I should have realized it was all corrupt.
Oh,
Before
yeah.
that,
Yeah.
I was like, shit. So Palm Harbor was like the hub area for the KKK. And I found a lot of things out after that, but
So your son, so you're in the bathroom, this guy comes up to you and says that. What happens after that? Like, does the investigative reporter still go through?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he did the story. It came out pretty good too. Did it right after the Super Bowl of that year. It was like the news right on it. Doug Smith, he did a bunch of stories. Every time.
But did
did a
he
story,
find out who these guys were? Or?
Well, no, the guy in the bathroom, I didn't know who he was. Never seen him again. But I ripped him apart. Okay, so that assault and battery charge
Yeah.
they gave me, well, I had to plead it out. I had the paramedics call me up, and they said they would testify on my behalf.
Really?
So yeah, so I wanted to fight it, but my attorney, Jason, at the time, he said, Jimmy, you're facing 5 years. He said, jury goes either way.
Yeah.
He says, with cops, they favor the cops more. He says, I could plead it down to resisting arrest without violence, and you're just going to get a year's misdemeanor probation. I said, oh, all right, let's do it then. I don't do anything wrong, so I think whatever,
Yeah.
So we went to court, and they changed it to felony probation. So I didn't know there was a difference either.
Oh, there's a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they keep you on more on a leash with
Yeah.
felony
A tight
probation.
leash, especially if they're jagoffs. They keep you on a real tight leash.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but I told Jason, I said it's fine. I said, like, I'm all legit. I don't do anything wrong, so yeah, it doesn't bother me. I could do the probation, but then I found out it was a little bit more harder. But my probation officer was a decent guy. He was pretty cool. He didn't harass me.
So
So then,
after go ahead. Go ahead.
no. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, I need to know who this other guy was, who this other guy's family is, because somebody's got some serious interest or serious pull.
Yeah, well, it was his father. He invented the kid's father is a doctor, a big doctor. He invented a medication for an eye disease. He was an optometrist,
Okay.
so he had a lot of money. But here's a funny story, though. Okay, so a cop moved up the street from me, a deputy sheriff, right before Jimmy's accident. But I never met the guy, but we wave, go back and forth and wave.
Hmm.
So one of my neighbors told me, like, hey, you got to watch this guy. He's looking to arrest you for something, Jimmy. I said, arrest me for what? She goes, I don't know. That's what he said. So she goes, just watch yourself. So like, all right, So I pull in my driveway. I see his car drive by. So I threw it in reverse, man. I pull up to his house, man. I get out of my truck. And I said, I heard you got a fucking problem with me. I said, you don't fucking know me. And he goes, I got no problem with you. He says, listen, he said, that father withdrew a whole bunch of money out of the bank. He says, I was the one watching the kid, make sure he didn't skip town. We thought the kid was going to skip town. I was like, oh man, that was the payoff money. Shit. Because it was a whole large amount and they thought the kid was going to skip town with that money. But that was the payoff money. I was like, no shit. And he goes, do you know how many times they asked me to use my driveway to watch you? I was like, no, I didn't know that. He goes, I told them I don't shit where I sleep.
Wow.
I said, I appreciate that. I said, I didn't know that. I said, thanks. I told him I do irrigation. I said, when you need your sprinkler fix, I'll take care of you. I'll hook you up. So he's like, all right. So,
Even though I mean he's just a wealthy doctor. I mean it's
pay a lot of money.
Yeah, it's strange though that he had the entire police force just harassing the shit out of you.
That came from the state attorney.
Why did that happen?
Well, I think that's where the money went, to the state attorney. It boils down to the state attorney, and I finally figured it out. Actually, I made a sign one year, and I put his face right on it, and I said, "Corruption in Pinellas County." I put it on my boat trailer.
Yeah,
it was like 6 foot by 6 foot sign, and I drove it around the courthouse a whole bunch of times, and I had a whole bunch of stories that Bernie McCabe screwed up on.
Yeah,
but that just made it tough for me, though.
Yeah, it just makes it worse.
Yeah, but my attorneys were like, you need to move. I said, now what the fuck do I got to move for? I didn't do anything wrong, but they knew there was nothing they could do with the corruption. Corruption's tough. I mean, you know what that's all about too.
Oh yeah, corruption. I mean, especially when it gets deep into, when you get deep into politicians and police and shit, that it doesn't go away. You can't wash that shit out.
Yeah, it's bullshit. I mean, so much shit happened. I mean, like I'm here all day. Then the best one was when they tried to get my son on murder. What happened was his best friend. I didn't know the kids were doing these pills. I didn't know nothing about those painkillers.
Yeah. Oh, that was a huge thing, especially down in Florida.
Tampa Bay was.
That was massive.
Coming out of state. Yeah,
they were like pill factories.
Yeah, that's right. There were pill mills.
Yeah, my wife and I watched a documentary called The Pharmacist, and he finally was watching all of these kids coming in with all these prescriptions, and he finally started to track it down. And it's actually a really good documentary, but he ends up taking it to like DEA and FBI, and he ended up busting them, but man, it took forever. And they were like breaking it down to these doctors were making, I mean, Jesus, millions and millions of dollars a week. They're just writing prescriptions.
Yeah, listen.
They're not even seeing the kids.
The year Jimmy died, 13 of his friends died.
Really?
All from the pain medication.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I mean, we went to like 3 funerals, and then I was like, I can't go anymore. This is ridiculous, I mean? And it just went on. It was all from those pills. And then my son Matt was using, but I never knew that till he got arrested. They thought it was me. He borrowed my car one night, and they pulled him over because coming out of, they used to park by the restaurant too. I told my boys where they park. I said, because I see him all the time. They park there. And, so he made a California stop at the stop sign, he did a roll through.
Yeah.
The cop pulled him over and found one of those blue Roxys on him. And then I knew they were doing the pills too. I was like, I knew
that's all they need. That's all they need is one pill.
Yeah. That's what.
And if you don't have a script for it, you're fucked.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I was on probation, they kept on hammering Mac because I mean, I can't even tell you how much money I spent in criminal defense attorneys. It was on, and then they were tracking me. You know, I didn't understand that tracking shit till a fishing incident. My buddies called me up and said, "Hey, let's go do some fishing. You know, we're going to the middle grounds. You know, it's in
Hmm.
the middle of the Gulf." So I was like, "Yeah, I'll go." Let's. No cops banging on my door, coming in with
Right.
gloves on. They
Following
came
you
in my
down the
house with
street.
gloves on. Yeah, they came in my house with gloves on one time. I was like, "Oh man, you look like two hitmen with uniforms on."
Yep. That's probably
And
what they are too.
they were like, could we come in?" So I said,
No.
"No." So I went to try to
Fuck
shut the
off.
door, and they pushed their way in.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about that one is my attorneys called me up and they had this guy, Greg Kehoe, that was going to help us out. And he just got done prosecuting Saddam Hussein. The government hired him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I just happened to pull him up on the computer when those cops came. I said, "Hey, before you do anything, you want to see my new attorney?" So the guy said, "Yeah, Cutidia." I call him Cuntidia, but so I said, "Yeah, I'll look at it." And he read it and read it. He goes, "Okay, we're out of here." I said, "Yeah, that's what I thought you'd say." And then they left, you know. But that fishing thing I was telling you about, we went out fishing, but we couldn't go to the middle grounds because it was too rough. So we wound up staying up by Wiki Wachee, you know, about 20 miles off or something like that.
Okay.
But the rule is 5 grouper per day per person.
Hmm.
So we were out there for 2 days. So we thought we were allowed 10 grouper per person. And we caught these grouper, man. They were like, that's big, man. They were gigantic. And we first night we gutted them all, packed them with ice real good.
Yeah.
The next day we just put them in the cooler. And as we're coming in, the boat slows down. And I'm talking to my buddy Seth in the galley. And he's like, "You enjoy yourself?" I said, "Shit, yeah, man. That was great, you know?" And all of a sudden I see 2 cops jumping back in the boat. I'm like, "What the fuck's that about?" He goes, "I don't know. You hang out here. Let me go see what's going on." So I'm watching, I'm looking, and he comes down. He says, "We caught too many fish." I said, "What do you mean too many fish?" He says, you out there, you could be out there for 4 days. You only could come in with 1 day's catch." And I was like, "Really? Like, that's
Oh,
bullshit." So
yeah.
we go in, and the guy ask Bob, the captain of the boat. He said, "I need all your coordinates, all your numbers, because I have to see if it's a federal case or, you know, a state case." So anyway, Bob comes down from the wheelhouse and he's like, "Hey, Jimmy, man, you know what this guy just told me?" I said, "No, what?" He said, "They've been tracking us all weekend. Could they do that shit?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." It was cell phones today. It was 2006. I said, with cell phones today, yeah, but I mean, that's a lot of money, I think.
Yeah. I didn't think that they could do it like in the middle of while you're out in the middle of the ocean, though.
They did it. They tracked it. They told Bob they tracked us. Then I'm thinking about when I'm working, the cops pulling up on the jobs and all that. Like, oh, they were tracking me. Then they did it. It
Huh.
is what it is. But like a bunch of assholes, you know. So we bought the house up in Wiki Wachee, and I used it for a uh, safe house, you might want to say. I go when they got too much harassment or something. When I see them around a lot, I go up there, spend a few days or something, so they wouldn't know where I was at.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
I
at
guess
that point, I'd be checking all my vehicles too.
yeah, yeah, well, yeah. I mean, yeah. The thing is I thought it was over when Bernie died.
Right.
He died. But I just got arrested a couple of years ago, so I'm not sure. You know, resisting arrest without violence. I told my attorney, I said, "I'm not accepting that. I want to know what I was being arrested for that I resisted."
Right.
I never got an answer. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I got arrested for that. Resisting arrest without violence. What the
I wonder
fuck?
how do you know anybody else that deals with this much shit down there in,
No,
in
no,
Pinellas?
no, no. I met a couple. A mother and an aunt with this kid Joey Turner. The state blew his case away too. I met with them, and they didn't get harassed as much as I was. But that night when Jimmy died, I beat my truck up, and there was a whole bunch of people at the end of the dock there,
Yeah.
and I kind of wrecked my truck. I kind of totaled it, you know,
Yeah.
beating it
I
up.
mean, it's acceptable considering the circumstances.
Well, I think they saw me doing that, and I think I scared some people.
Yeah, but to harass you for that long, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's not
no,
like
they
you're
did.
some big kingpin or something,
Yeah, right, right,
you know?
right. They want. Well, I know what they wanted. I know they wanted to make me a criminal, and I know they wanted to put me away. I know they wanted me to do some time. I think Bernie was scared it was going to come after him. So Fox News is doing a bunch of stories, So I used to have to meet him in shopping plazas in the back because he was undercover.
Hmm.
So I met him that one day, and he goes, "Hey Jimmy, I'm going to try to arrange a sit down with you and Bernie McCabe and the assistant state attorney." He said,
Yeah.
"Are you willing to do that?" I said, "You're going to get me close to that guy?" He
Yeah.
goes, "Yeah, we'll have a sit down."
Wring his neck.
Oh, yeah. Well, I thought about that too. And
Yeah.
then he calls me up and he said, "Meet me at the Publix, wherever." I said, "All
Yeah.
right." So I met him there. So he gets out of his car, out of the van, and he's like, "Jimmy, they won't meet with you." I said, "Why?" He said, "They're scared of you. Are you telling me 700 deputies can't handle you in the state attorney's office?" I
What the
said,
hell?
"Well," I said, "you're telling me this shit." I said, "I didn't know about that." So he said, "No, they're scared to meet with you. That's it. I can't do nothing." Like, no kidding.
Are you like some crazy like assassin that
Oh,
we don't know about or something?
I scared. I don't know. I don't know what they knew. I don't know if they trick. I don't. Even if they traced my background, they wouldn't catch up to. They knew that I knew mafia and all that shit. I don't know.
That is
But
the weirdest thing.
so when we got arrested, well, we didn't get arrested. So we had to make a court appearance for that fishing thing.
Yeah.
All right. So Bob goes first. My friend Bob pleads guilty. I wanted to fight it, but nobody else. Let's just get it done. Let's get it over with. I said, "All right." So Bob pleads guilty, goes out the door. Seth goes, goes out the door. I go, I plead guilty. Am I taking a seat here?
Yeah.
I was like, "What?"
Yeah. You
I
already
sat
got a
down.
record. So
Yeah, not even a record though. But anyway, so I'm looking at the courtroom, and I notice there's a cop at every door, and there's 3 bailiffs instead of 2 bailiffs. And I'm like, look at this shit. So they thought I was
Mhm.
going to flip out when I really should have flipped out with that. I mean, so you can't kill a fish, but you can kill a person.
Right.
That didn't make sense to me. Like, really, and I had to go to court for that shit. But then Fox News hooked me up with a high profile attorney. And then everything started cooling down after that. But that was like, close to 5 years. So I'm not sure if they just laid off, it was because of the attorney, or there was a couple other things that happened too. So I'm not sure why they laid off. But
Sounds
they
like
did.
the attorney might have helped it, but at that point, did the attorney say, "Hey, this is some serious bullshit. Let's go after them"?
No, nobody would go after them. I
Really?
tried. Yeah, it's too big. Okay, so Fox News does his first story, Doug Smith. He
Mhm.
does the first story. So he tells me, he says, "Listen, I'm going to give you 2 reporters' names from the St. Pete Times. So get them to write a story about this too." I said, "Okay." So I called the one guy up, left a message, never called me back. I called the other guy up. He says, "No way am I doing a story on that." He says, "I got too many connections in that state attorney's office. No way I'm touching that." And that was it. Like, wow. So I never read the paper after that.
Sounds like Chicago.
Yeah. Well, it's everywhere. Corruption's everywhere. It's just how it is. This
It is. I didn't think it was that bad
I
down in
had a hard
Florida,
time.
though.
I never heard of anybody having a hard time. I tried looking for somebody that else was having a hard time with them too, but I couldn't find nobody.
I mean, I know Pinellas, anytime you turn on, what is it, cops and all that shit, it's always Pinellas County and a couple of the
Yeah.
other counties, that are on there. But
And listen, they were good cops too. I mean, I had cops come to my house and say, "Hey, listen, I ain't involved in that shit. I'm here. Everything looks good. You have a nice night." I'm like,
yeah, I think
"Man,
that's the problem that everybody sees. It's like, you turn on anywhere, you turn on the news nowadays, and it's 5 cops jumping on some guy's, throat and beating the
yeah,
hell out of him. But for those 5 cops, there's 10 more that are good.
right,
But at
right."
this point, everybody's like, all cops are bad. Fuck them all.
No, you got the
Just
good
because
ones
of
there.
that.
The bad ones bring the good ones down, is what it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, that does suck too, and it happens a lot too.
So you're finally clear of all the harassment, like that you don't get bothered anymore and all that stuff.
A couple of years ago, I got arrested. They came to my door, knocked on my door, and they asked for my son Matt. So I was like, "What's going on?" So they walk down the hill. Matt comes out. They walk down the hill. So I walk down the hill. I said, what's going on? And said, hey, you keep your mouth shut. Get up there, or otherwise we're arresting you for what was the charge? Some with an arrest, like
Interfering in an
yeah,
investigation or some bullshit like that.
yeah. So I went inside. I called my attorney up. I said, hey, listen, could they do that? She goes, yeah, Jimmy. She goes, but I got Matt on the phone now. Don't worry about everything. I got it under control. I said, oh, all right. So I hung up. I went outside. I just watched, you know. Then paramedics come up and they check his, I don't know why, because I wasn't allowed to go down there, but they checked his blood pressure out and all that out, and everything was good. And so then everything's done. And the one cop, the sergeant, like, hey, you, come here. So I walked down the driveway. I said, what's going on? And he starts yelling at me. I was like, whoa, I'm right here. You don't have to raise your voice like that.
Yeah.
And then he gets in my face. I said, oh, now you're in my fucking face, you know? He pushed me back probably about 20 feet. And
Really?
my neighbors, yeah. See, I told her that. I told Loretta, I said, see, if I would have stood there and let him hit my chest, that's a battery charge.
Yeah, but he would have arrested you, said that you hit him.
Yeah,
probably, right?
That's what happens.
Yeah.
So I said, that's why, you know, I stayed in the space, but he pushed me back like 20 feet. One of my neighbors was out, and she's retired law enforcement, and she has a lot of friends that are deputies.
Okay.
And she saw everything. And then was it 2 days later? Might have been the next day, because my wife got me out about 4 o'clock in the morning. Resisting arrest without violence.
Of course. Yeah.
Oh, well, it gets a little bit funnier. So I told her after the argument, after the cop ripped me apart, I said, are you done? Because now I want to wipe all your spit off my face, because you spit all over my face. He goes, yeah, I'm done.
Technically,
so
that's assault.
Yeah, really, it is too.
It is.
So I'm walking up the driveway and I look back and he's giving me the stare of death, you know? I'm like,
yeah.
Shit. So I see him say something to the other deputy, and the deputy looks at me, smiles, and shakes his head, yeah. So I told my wife, I said, I'm going to jail. So go and get your shit and get ready to get me out. So that she goes, you didn't do anything. What are you going to? I said, well, Loretta, we know how this works.
Yeah, you're going
really,
down.
You're going to ask me that? So anyway, so the other cop comes up the driveway and he goes to me, he says, all right, let me see your ID. I said, and what do you want to see my ID for? You know who I am.
Right.
He said, I want to run your card, see if you got any warrants, all right? I said, all right, I'll give you my ID. Ain't no warrants, you know? So I take my wallet out and I'm going to get my license. He grabs it out of his hands. He goes, all right, put your hands behind your back. You're going to jail. I said, and for what? He said, I told you you can't put your hands in your pocket, and you put your hands in your pocket. I'm like, all right, let's just go.
Right. Where were you supposed to get your fucking ID from?
Yeah, right. You know, just a reason to arrest me. Then the assault and battery charge. So anyway, so a couple days later, Joe, I'm going to say her name.
Yeah.
So she came over, and she's friends with deputies, and I had a pit bull, and he was going crazy. So I got to go out the garage because I got to shut the door because he'll try coming after. But he wouldn't really do nothing. He just wound up licking you. Yeah. So I go out, and she's standing there, and she goes, Jimmy, you need to bring that dog wherever you go. I said, why? She goes, he'll protect you. I said, protect me against what? She goes, Jimmy, they're bad cops. I called up. They're bad cops. I said, Joan, that ain't my first rodeo. Oh, that's not my first rodeo. I said, I know how to deal with those guys. And if I would bring my dog and something would happen,
would have shot the dog.
Yeah, they take him out.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, they just rough up a little bit. I said, I could take some hits.
Yeah, they'll shoot the dog.
They shoot the dog. They shoot the dog. I said, you know, I could take it. I could do what they give me.
You know, it'd be interesting to do is to have somebody in law enforcement pull your jacket. Like, you know, when a cop shows up and he runs your name, is to see that screen when they run your name, to see, because there's going to be notes there, I bet, that's going to say something about you. That's why they're always, you know.
I never looked into that.
Yeah, I bet there's notes in there.
Yeah. Can I call my attorney and ask that then?
I don't know if an attorney would be able to do it, but, you know, if you find somebody that might be in law enforcement and could be a friend, they might pull it, you know, or run it or something. You know, there's ways to do it.
I didn't know that at all.
But it would be interesting to see.
I bet you're right too. I bet you there's notes there.
You know, that's unfortunate though, is when other people that have been in law enforcement come to you and say, listen, I ran them and they're dirty cops.
Yeah.
You know, it's just unfortunate that that they know it and they can't do nothing about it.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so somehow the guy got transferred. They transferred him like right out of the area. She came over to me like about 2 weeks later, and she goes, they transferred him. They transferred him and the other guy, and nobody knows why.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
I know that's happened down, in the city here, and especially in like, we got a couple towns that are still pretty corrupt,
Yeah, it's all over. It really is. It just depends where you go. I mean, Broward County got to be corrupt. All the cocaine.
Oh, Broward. Yeah.
That's where all coke comes in from.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And you never know who's, those dirty cops, what they're running and what they're doing. They're connected to cartel or shit like that. That's a problem.
Right.
That's what problem you don't want.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, cartel would be even worse too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it was the state attorney though. I know it was Bernie. Yeah, Bernie. He dropped dead last year, January 1st. I kind of shit. I wanted to go piss on his grave, but
right.
My wife
You'd probably get arrested for that too, for trespassing.
He can.
assault of a dead body or something.
I read this guy went pissed on the sergeant's grave, and he got arrested for that. They got cameras and all. So I was like, well, that blew that out of the way.
Yep. You don't need to get arrested for that.
Yeah, somebody told me pee in a cup and just go pour it on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said I don't even know where he is, but I don't even care anymore. He's dead and that's it. But when there's corruption in there, so what I found out, what I've researched about, is they groomed Bernie McCabe for that spot. Because before him, I forgot who the state attorney was. Bernie was right under him, and they groomed him with the judges and all that.
Sure.
And
that's straight out of Chicago playbook.
Yeah. I mean, corruption. You got it in there. It's always going to stay there.
Right.
There's no way of cleaning that up.
Oh yeah. Once he's locked in, I'm sure they're doing a lot of other stuff behind the scenes, and they're protecting each other. That's all. Yeah.
Well, I guess the judges, they were all corrupt. And I guess what they used to do is work with the tax collector. They would buy a bunch of property and it'd be zoned for something. And then the tax collector would change the zoning on it so they can make more money off the property.
Sure.
Now that's how it started anyway.
If they're running drugs, they keep a couple of the houses for trap houses or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You don't know how deep it goes. I don't know how deep it goes. I know it goes deep though. I sometimes think it was somebody else besides Bernie McCabe. Somebody bigger. I thought Charlie Crist for a little bit because he was the attorney general. He never returned my call either. And
you just at the point that you're, at that point, you just want people to leave you the fuck alone. I mean,
yeah. And you can't do nothing about it. You can't touch them. You can't fight the law.
Right.
It's impossible.
Right.
I did a few things though to protect myself. I mean, like I said, they pushed their way in with gloves on one night.
Yeah, that's crazy. And Illinois, I know Florida is, carry state.
Yeah.
I mean, my brother carries all the time.
Yeah. Well, the thing about carrying, you're not supposed to tell nobody.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, but yeah.
Well, down there it's concealed, and can you carry open or no?
No, not
It's just
yet.
concealed.
Just concealed. It'd be crazy if they kept it open like that.
Well, I think Texas is like that. You can carry open like a cowboy.
Texas is like that.
Like
there's actually a couple of states like that.
Yeah.
I forgot what the other state is. I know there's another one, but
probably like Wyoming. I picture like Wyoming or something something like that, like Old West.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know there is another state that's open carry like that.
Yeah, that's insane.
What state it is. Yeah, life's crazy.
It is. Besides that, are you guys doing good down there?
Yeah, everything's fine. Yeah, I seen your show. That was great.
Good, thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks.
That was fantastic. I made my wife watch it too. She was pretty impressed with it.
It took a little bit out of us to do that, but it turned out pretty good. We were pretty happy with it.
Yeah, it came out fantastic.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, my friend.
Well, I'm gonna don't disconnect when I stop recording. So I appreciate you coming on, and it was good to actually just sit and talk face to face with you.
I feel a lot better too. I feel like I got some stuff off my chest.
Good, and I'm glad that helps.
Yeah, with you. Yeah, I feel good about that.
Good. Hold on one second. This has been another episode of Joey's Social Club. Come back next week for more hard-hitting stories from the Chicago underworld.